this video started as a top 5 games of 2024 with the number 1 being my game of the year, and it still is. But as I was going through the list of the games that I've got on this list, I slowly started to realize that a lot of these games, and I guess it's a kind of spoiler to the whole video, but let's just roll with it, are mostly remakes and remasters of old games. So it led me to ask the question to all of you, what was your game of the year 2024? And was it a remake or a remaster or even a port of a game that had previously come out? Now, I don't know if it's nostalgia just kicking my ass and I just love playing old games and reminiscing, or maybe the year for new games wasn't as strong as I thought it would be for me. Regardless, we're going to be diving into my list of the top 5 games of 2024, and I'm hoping that you can join me along for the ride. So with that all being said, what is up guys, Jen here, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to the channel. As always, got you covered with timestamps, so if you want to skip to a certain game, feel free to do so. You can even skip straight to the number 1, but please consider supporting the channel and hit that like button. And if you want to stick around with the channel into 2025, then please consider hitting that subscribe button. Now let's dive in to my number 5 game of 2024. This one was quite a surprise because going into 2024, this wasn't on my radar whatsoever. It wasn't until we got towards release and the reviews came out for this game that I was like, you know what? I think I want to give this a go. And during my October Halo stream event, this was a game that I went all in with, and that was Silent Hill 2 Remake. Now, when it comes to the Silent Hill series, I've only played the first one for about 10 minutes. I was pretty young, I was very scared, and I'd left that series behind. So I really didn't know much going into it. I didn't know if this was a direct sequel or an original story, or if I had to have played the first one, but I dove in and I absolutely loved it. I'm more of a Resident Evil guy, but the intensity that this brought to the table, and I guess that was increased with me allowing channel points on the stream for my viewers to be able to play scary sounds added to it, but it was intense. I loved the puzzles, I loved the journey, I loved the atmosphere, and I really loved my time with Silent Hill 2. Now, I didn't complete it on stream, I played the remainder off stream, and I bloody loved it even more. But again, Silent Hill really surprised me. I loved my time with it, and that is why it's my number 5. So let's move on to my number 4 game of 2024. Now, this game came out pretty early in the year. It was one I was very excited for, but it was one that I didn't expect for me to absolutely have a blast with. I'm talking about Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth. Now, I'm pretty new. I say pretty new, I've been playing the Yakuza games for a while, but I wasn't there for the PS2 era, I wasn't there for the PS3 era. I picked up Yakuza 0 when it was on sale, and then I decided to take the plunge, and I loved the Yakuza series. I played all of them bar 4 and 5, and then when I found out that Yakuza Like a Dragon was going to be a turn-based RPG, it perked my interest even more. Loved that game, and then we are here with Infinite Wealth. It was everything that Yakuza Like a Dragon brought to the table, but improved upon. We had more movement during the battles, we could be a little bit more strategic, we had a new location to explore, there was more things to do, there was so many distractions, so many side stories. I loved it, alright? It was a phenomenal game to play. I love the fact that we get to play as what we see as just normal people, even though they do extraordinary things, and that is one of the many reasons why Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth is my number 4 game. So let's have a look at our number 3. This is another game I was highly anticipating in 2024. I had the pleasure of playing one of the first preview builds of this game, and when I had my hands on with it, I knew that this was a game that I was going to get absolutely invested with, and I'm talking about Dragon Quest III HD 2D Remake. Now, the timing of this couldn't come any better because I spent a majority of 2024 getting into the Dragon Quest series, because this is a series I am quite new to. I have now, at this stage, played 6 Dragon Quest games and rolled credits, including 3, and I'm playing 8 at the moment. But back to 3. Why is it my number 3? It is just a damn good RPG. It's old school. You've got the battles, you've got the grind, you've got the story. A lot of people say Dragon Quest stories are quite basic, but it's the NPCs that build that world and build that story even more. So I advise you speak to every single one of them. Oh man, I had a blast with this. I really did. Getting through this, doing the end game and really challenging myself, because that end game was quite challenging, and getting the platinum trophy. It was a journey that I really enjoyed, and I am eagerly awaiting the HD 2D remake of Dragon Quest 1 and 2. Now, speaking of 2, let's move on to my number 2 game of 2024. This was a game that was on my radar regardless. I knew I was going to pick it up and have a great time with it, but I didn't expect the nostalgia to really set in for me. And I'm talking about Astrobot. This game just took me back, because of before the times Jen here got into RPGs and played Final Fantasy VII the first time. He absolutely loved platformers. I'm talking Sonic the Hedgehog, Crash Bandicoot, Spyro the Dragon, Croc, Gex, all of the classic platformers I absolutely loved. So this really took me back. And the fact that I'm someone that's played PlayStation since it came out back in the late 90s, this was just a fun platformer, but with a heck of a lot of nostalgia. Getting these characters and being like, hey, I know who you're from, I know what you're from, and whoa, that is a deep cut. It was just such a journey, a fun time. Astrobot was just returned to form for me. I was enthralled in nostalgia, but that didn't taint my vision of how truly great of a game this was. You can look at all the little bits that it did with the DualSense controller, the sounds, the music, and everything else in between. Astrobot is a phenomenal video game. Now, with that out of the way, I'm going to talk about my number 1, and I'm sure to a majority of you, you knew this straight from the beginning of the video, what this is going to be. It is indeed Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. Man. Right, let me try and get all the nostalgia things out of the way. I love Final Fantasy VII. It's my favorite game of all time. I loved Remake. I knew I was going to love this. Going back, traversing the world map from Calm all the way to the Forgotten Capital. This was a journey that I will not forget. It was incredible. Every single hour I played, I reminisced, and I was looking forward to the future. The one thing that I love about the Remake project is this is a remake, or a reimagining, I guess you could say, of my favorite game. I know some people would say sequel as well, but this is a new experience of my favorite game. So I kind of know what's going to happen, but at the same time, I don't know what's going to happen, and I'm really excited for part 3. Now we've got the nostalgia-filled explanation out of the way, I want to just say this is a phenomenal video game. What they do here is crazy. We go through this game, it's got such an intense story, and we've got those gaps to explore dungeons and explore these open areas. So much to do, so many side quests to do, so many mini games, and I really loved every minute. I spent around 240 hours with this game. This is my number 1 game when it came to my PlayStation wrap up of how long I spent with a game, and for that reason I can just look back and say I didn't waste a single hour with that. I got the platinum trophy before a lot of guides were out there, and I loved the journey of trying to learn and master this combat system. It really is a great video game, and that's an emphasis I've used a few times in this video. I just love games, and these ones made the list because ultimately they were great video games. But you know, I've got a special place in my heart for Final Fantasy VII, and yeah, that is why it is my number 1 game. It is my game of the year 2024. And there we have it, the list. I wanted to try and keep my explanations quite short and sweet because I know these videos could be quite long, but I'm hoping that you stuck it out through all of the games that I've mentioned. Are there any games here that I did mention that are your games of the year? If you want to write your top 5s down below, feel free to do so. Or if you just want to put your personal game of the year, feel free to do that as well. I'm sure there's at least one game that I've probably not mentioned and you're thinking, Jen, why have you not mentioned this game? Let me know in the comments. We'll have a conversation. But I thank you for your time. I appreciate your time. I thank you for all of the support you've given me in 2024. And until next time, I'll catch you on the flip side.